Welcome back. Now, joining me is Ashley Beckford. Now, Ashley, wow. Okay, so the downfall of the West, we're hearing about this all the time.
It's happening every day.
Who knew it was due to the rise in porn culture and the Tinder generation?
Well, as a millennial, I can tell, what's going on. It's really, really crazy. And basically what we want to talk about is how marriage and just general interpersonal relationships between men and women are really falling at an extreme rate.
To the point where now there is record number of young men going for treatment for erectile dysfunction because they can't get aroused in the bedroom. Basically, they're being desensitized with all of the graphic imagery that they can access it right there on their on their cell phone.
Right.
You don't need to send a letter to your beloved and have to wait a month for her to write back. Now it's just like swipe left, swipe right.
Yeah, it's really sad. This therapist was talking about sexual dysfunction down in the article, and she goes on to say that it's actually 25% of men under 40 now are actually experiencing sexual dysfunction. This is according to a 2014 study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine. And then you also have that the fact that these watching this porn is actually like drug-like. It's reminiscent of an addiction. It leads to lowered sexual enjoyment and diminished libido.
Right, and the more you see, the more graphic, the more extreme, you just have to keep taking it to that next level. So
exactly.
This is affecting people across the board. There's a story that came out in the Federalist today. Yes, men really did greater things when boobs were harder to see. And they use this example of art.
Right.
Ancient art, and how women's bodies were treated as something worth years of effort to pursue. Now, all you have to do is Google something. I'm sorry, what were we saying? I'm so distracted right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with the guys.
Here, guys.
They're distracted by these images, these really, really graphic images in pornography. And then when they actually want to talk to a real woman, they've talked about it. Paul Joseph Watson in his Sexodus video, and also Kit Daniels in his anti-physical video, they talk about how it's so difficult now for men and women to relate because they've been just bombarded with these images that are so negative, and just parse people up into these body parts.
Well, and it's like, why would someone expend the effort to get to know you and really pursue you when all they have to do is go online and look at porn and look at these images of women who are nothing like a real woman in real life.
Right.
And boobs aren't up to here, all the time. And then so this article goes on to talk about a curve. And of course it is shaped like a breast,
Right.
But it's basically showing the male incentive to produce more than subsistence level goods is more so when you're having to acquire favors from women where it's more difficult. So
exactly,
your productivity level as a male goes down, the easier it is to access,
Right, and that's what they say, like, the men on the beaches of Normandy, these guys, in the olden days when they were, fighting the old wars, they would be worried about how am I going to get home to my woman, how am I going to provide for my family? And now that really isn't something that we see today. It's more like so much easy access that guys feel like they have no incentive to actually pursue a woman. Plus, they're afraid because of feminism. The article goes on to say that feminism does real harm to women and men because it creates this anger between men and women and an uncomfortable kind of situation.
Right. Well, it's a whole cultural Marxism of we don't need men at all.
Right.
We can do all right without you, but that's not how we're created. We're made to help each other in the bedroom and out of the bedroom.
Right.
And also, they talk a little bit about the social media culture in general, how damaging it is for the mental health of young people.
Exactly.
We see so many people going in to get plastic surgery now because they want to look like these totally fake people online, and if you go on a site like Instagram, everyone looks exactly the same.
Exactly.
They're all getting plastic surgery and doing their makeup the same.
Right.
And it's making people really, you know, it's destroying an entire
it's
generation.
creating insecurity, and then a lot of people, the whole millennial generation, you know, I'm, you know, single of marrying age. And the whole thing is, it's just destroying that whole, you know, concept.
It's a template that no one can live up to.
Right, finding value in another human being, like what's the real value, you know? As I always say, you know, when you're looking for someone, you need to accept 80%, you know, and then, you know, that 20% that you don't like, then maybe you can work on that, you know, as a couple. But people aren't willing to do that anymore. They're not willing to put in the effort that it takes. They're looking for an archetype, you know, some like 1954 type woman, and they're not really understanding, you know, we need to make sacrifices, and also, you know, just kind of, you know, compromises.
It takes a little bit of effort. Yeah,
it takes compromises and effort.
It is all about the compromise. There was actually an article in the Daily Mail today showing some old advertisements, and one of the advertisements was like, hey, why'd you stop beating your wife? Or maybe you should. I mean, it's like you see why the rise in feminism happened.
Right.
Because I mean, these are ads talking about how, you know, you need to beat your wife to keep her in line. Did she not pick you up fresh coffee at the store?
Well, they're still saying that in Islamic countries. I mean, you can throw acid on her, and that's, you know, honor killing, you know. Well, but I think here what it is divorce, and that open, you know, culture since, you know, the 60s of everyone getting divorced. It's just made it more open. So it's just like, you know, people don't care to put in that commitment, that dedication that it takes.
Well, let's talk about some other things that are kind of destroying the young people out there. This RevCom type mentality where we see that it's not the Communist Party of old, but it's still this Communist Party that's getting into these young people and basically telling them that they are victims, they're the victim class, women are victims, you know, the minorities are victims, and basically training them to create this mob violence, trained riot makers, how they can lead a mob and get the things that they want, demand that people in charge have to step down if they don't bow to the things that they want. And now there's actually a story coming out that Oregon State is forcing social justice training on their freshmen. Everyone has to take
diversity and inclusion. Well, if you don't know, if you're an InfoWars watcher, you probably already know that this is a progressive phrase to talk about kind of environmentalism, socialism, feminism, gay rights. But they're taking it to another level. They want to make sure everyone's equal in like a creepy way, like Harrison Bergeron, Kurt Vonnegut, you know, 1984 type stuff. And basically, they're using taxpayer money. They spent $11,500 on 3 racially segregated social justice retreats. That's absurd. And they talked about white privilege, racism, and oppression. And basically, it goes down to these concepts. Like when you go to these types of things, they talk about, you know, they say things like, you know, all Europeans are bad, you're a peon, you have, you know, a lower social standing. And they're just basically trying to break everybody up. They don't want people to get together. They want to bring out microaggressions. Like if I say, I like, you know, your hair, that's evil. You know, I like your shoes, that's bad. And it's just rough because everything is down to oppression studies. It's like oppression studies is not only just in the classroom with those Marxist professors. It's, you know, coming out and getting into every aspect of our lives.
Right, because it's evil and racist to educate people on how great this country actually is and how lucky everyone should feel to be a part of our culture and our society, because we still have so much further to go. But don't do that. That sounds a little bit racist. Well, thank you guys for tuning into the show tonight. We will see you here again tomorrow.